So the Nintendo Direct finally came. The prophesied day has arrived. Nintendo Switch 2. Everything looks amazing. It's super hype. Now, the one thing that people are not hyped about is the price, specifically with Mario Kart World.
I don't know if I get Mario Kart, it's going to be as part of the bundle, but I am not excited for an $80 game. I have seen people talking online about $90 games. I looked into it myself. I even went on Walmart's website to see like if I could find like games being listed and stuff, and you can, but I have yet to find a $90 game. I think that's just people making stuff up. I don't think $90 games actually exist.
Yeah, I think that was misinfo.
Yeah, but I have seen $80 games. Bro, I am not happy about that. It's weird because they're charging for Donkey Kong, they're charging $70, which is already a jump.
Right.
But, you know, I fear that that's just the way the industry as a whole is moving. And I don't want to like hash the whole conversation people always have of like how things are getting more expensive to produce games, develop games, all that stuff, and just general inflation for consumer side stuff. But I feel like going from 60 to 70, it almost feels like inevitable. And if you want to continue with gaming as a hobby, like as much as it sucks, and I wish that wasn't the case, it's just, it is what it is. But going straight to 80, that starts to feel kind of greedy, in my opinion. Like it doesn't feel like it's necessarily needed. Now, I will give Nintendo some grace because, well, it's tough because Nintendo's such a mixed bag. They're incredibly greedy in some cases and incredibly generous in others. Like they've given a lot of free DLC in some of their games that I'm like, wow, I am shocked this is not paid content. Like this DLC should be paid.
Smash Brothers released characters and they were very cheap. Like really cheap to compared to how you could sell DLC characters. Like very cost effective, I think.
On the other hand too, their games never go on sale. Some games have been discounted and then re-released on the Nintendo Switch at like full price, and these like super old games. So yeah, it's like really hard to like pinpoint Nintendo and stuff. But yeah, going to $80, the reason why it's like it stings so much is I have a personal budget for almost everything. Hobbies is part of that. $20 doesn't seem like a lot when just looked at in a vacuum, but for my own budget, and I feel like this is the case for a lot of people, with how expensive just other things are now, $20 is felt significantly. So yeah, I am not happy about $80 games. It does come bundled with the Switch. I might do that. We'll see. I hope this is like a one-off thing or something. My fear is though that like Mario Kart becomes their #1 sold game. And yeah, maybe they don't really make a difference between, oh, well, it was part of the bundle and it was discounted $30. Or they just see like, well, we charged $80 for this game and so many people bought it. And now like Nintendo sees, well, we could probably charge $80 for our big games. And then other companies are like, you know what? Maybe we can charge $80 for our games too. There's a like rumor going around. I don't know how valid it is, but that Grand Theft Auto 6, it might be like $100 or something. It's just like, dude, if Grand Theft Auto 6 becomes the most popular game, highest selling game of all time at $100, you think other game companies aren't going to follow suit? I would be shocked if they didn't.
George, I'm really glad that you brought all these things up. In fact, you could even say I could script this myself and have you say all these things. In fact, we did not do that, but I'm going to have a really unpopular opinion about this. I think it's totally fine for Nintendo to sell this game at $80.
Wow.
In fact, I think it's totally fine for Nintendo to sell it at $90.
$90?
Now, don't mistake me. I don't want the games to be sold at $80 and $90. However, I genuinely believe that if they price the game at a price and people buy it, then they believe that that game was worth that price. Right? Am I going to buy Mario Kart World at $90? No way, because I don't think Mario Kart is worth that. But if From Software put out a game and it was $100, I'm going to buy that game every time. I'm not even going to think about it, bro. It's not even going to be a thought, right? So this is the perspective that I look at. And I've heard that there were some other people saying that, oh, well, it's only a matter of time before games are $180, because if we look at $60 back in the day, based on inflation, it's going to be like $180 in today's money. We're inching our way forwards to that. But I don't buy that. I think it's total BS. I think that games will be priced at what people continue to buy them at. There was a big push for games not to go to $70, and everyone said, there's no way I'm not buying X, Y, or Z game at $70. Well, Monster Hunter Wilds just came out. It's a underbaked $70 game that everybody frickin' bought, and everyone has enjoyed it, myself included. The game is overpriced and underbaked, but I still had a good time with it. We have lots of complaints about it. We made 2 videos about it, but even still, that's the price it was at. Now, the other argument you said is, oh, well, Grand Theft Auto is going to be $100 potentially. And everyone is saying that this is just another incremental increase. But I think the opposite. I think Grand Theft Auto releasing at $100 will create a pay shield, because anyone else that tries to justify a $100 game is now immediately going to be judged against the biggest, most hype game ever released. So another company, and likely it'll be Square Enix, because they're the greediest motherfuckers, they'll come up and they'll release a $100 Final Fantasy game, but everyone's going to look at it and say, you think your game's Grand Theft Auto 6? Really? And they're going to immediately compare that, and they'll get slammed for it, because no one's gonna, the general population of people's not gonna buy a $100 Final Fantasy game. Only the hardcore people, they're gonna cut out the market. And so I think this creates a pay shield against other companies from going up to at least 100. And then even then, people are uncomfortable with that 80, 90 range, which fair enough. But then it's like, okay, well, we'll have to see those people actually drop off. But if people are paying $80, $90 for games, A, people think it's worth it, and B, like you said, with inflation, with the cost of creating games, everything moving up, it does make some sense to have games increase. So I think all these factors will come together, and I think it'll work out more fine than we expect. I'm optimistic. And so again, just to reiterate, I'm not saying and advocating for games to go up to that price. My perspective is, I'm optimistic that it's not going to, the fallout of this isn't going to be as bad as people think.
I genuinely hope that you are correct. The problem that I have with going up in price is that, unfortunately, all that really matters is the bottom line. And so if they have to sell 20% less quantity of games, but they still make more money because they charge 21% more, right? Let's just make math easy here. Then it is in their best interest to do that, because at the end of the day, they make more money. Sure, they sell less copies, but because it's more expensive, they end up making more money. And jumping to $80 per game, or for a lot of these, big games, prices me out of the market. This is a wholly selfish argument here.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I don't disagree with you that, that whole pay shield argument, I generally think that is correct. Any other game that tries to charge that would...
They're going to be compared immediately.
Exactly, right? But, let's say Square Enix, these are all totally made up numbers here just for the sake of argument. But, let's say the last Final Fantasy sold 5 million copies and they made $10 million. Net profit from that, right? But they charge $60. Well, let's just say this next game, they sell 2.5 million copies, but they net 12 million from it.
Sure.
So...
Sure. I understand. Yeah, I think, again, I don't know. I just think the markets will adjust and decide, right? If they want to keep going that far with prices, eventually the market will just stop supporting that, and I think it'll work itself out. And at the end of the day, when it comes to companies like Nintendo, them getting more money, to me, just means that they're going to make better games. Now, unfortunately, Nintendo's one of the only companies that I believe that. Maybe From Software is another one. There are other companies like, Ubisoft, EA, these other scummy companies. I know that money's going to go to their CEOs, and it's not going to go to making better games. So I feel less good about that. But again, I think the markets will decide, and... I don't know. Some people have said, well, games are more expensive than ever. You're right, but they're also more inexpensive than ever. You could buy Hollow Knight for what, $15? Star Providence is $15.
You can buy Terraria. For $2.99
for sure.
Yeah.
Right, some of the best games ever released, and they're not even that old. How expensive is Silksong going to be when it comes out? Probably not more than $20-$30. That's a pretty good price for the game you're going to get. So I think, sure, let these super AAA games go up in price, And maybe it'll make more room for people to start trying other games, and I think the market will really work itself out. I'm not too worried about it. It does suck. I'm not going to say it doesn't suck. I totally agree with that. And I do wish that the prices wouldn't keep going up for my own sake. But
yeah,
I'm not too pessimistic about it. I think there's lots of great cheaper games you can get, and I hope that the games that are coming out from Nintendo and other companies that are more expensive, they'll just have to justify it more. You know what? If we got $100 Monster Hunter Wilds, but it actually had all the content it was supposed to have and more, then maybe I'd be more happy with that instead of waiting for these stupid title updates to come out over long term. So I don't know. It's a whole thing. So that's my piece on it. Yeah.
My whole thing is, right, like, this jump might not seem like a lot in a vacuum, but compared with all the other things that we constantly have to buy, just living, providing for a family, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It prices me personally out of the market.
Sure.
And I'm not happy about that.
Sure, that's reasonable.
We'll see.
I think it's a reasonable take. The other crazy thing that is absolutely unbelievable is after the incredible success of the Wii Sports and Nintendo Land on the Wii U, even though the Wii U was a general failure, I can't believe they're selling the Switch 2 Welcome Tour as a paid thing. Like, are they nuts? Have they absolutely lost their fucking mind? Bro, no one is going to buy that, and it's the most perfect thing to get people, like, in and engaging with the hardware and get familiar. That's crazy. I really, really hope that they rescind on that and they just make it a bundled thing, because that's just the dumbest thing to charge money for. Like, who's gonna buy an interactive manual for their freaking console? Like, really? For real?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't know if this is true. I heard that Reggie fought tooth and nail to include Wii Sports with the Wii.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if that's true, but if it is, bro, we need another Reggie kind of person freaking in Nintendo right now, beating some sense into them, because this is, it's so dumb. It's only $10, I thought I saw. So it's like not that big of a deal, but bro, why are you going to spend $10 for something that should be free?
So
like, who's going to buy this?
No,
yeah, exactly. That's why I say, like, Nintendo's such a mixed bag when it comes to greed. Sometimes they're incredibly forthcoming and generous.
Is this even greed, though? Like, I feel like this is just being tone deaf. Like, I don't even feel like it's greedy. It's not like they're pricing it like $20, $30. That would be greedy, but this is just like tone deaf. They're just like, oh, well, this seems like a reasonable price for this. Like, bro, a reasonable price for this is free.
Yeah, could be. Could be. It's hard to say, right? I don't know. And the part of it too is like, whether it's greed or tone deaf, right? There's like so many things they're trying to bundle with the Switch. They're going to cost extra money.
Right.
Like the game chat, you get a year free game chat. Okay, that's cool. You're going to have to pay $50 for a camera if you want to use that. Like, okay, I guess. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's hard to say whether it's greed or not, or if it's just tone deafness.
Nintendo, I want to err on the side of it's not greed, because Nintendo has historically been a non-greedy company. They've just had really high standards for their, like, not going on sale for prices and maintaining a high quality standard and a high price standard of things. So I want to say it's not greed, but with Iwata gone, you know, Iwata was the paragon of like, oh, we're losing money or we're getting less income as Nintendo, I'll take a pay cut, right? So like that's the things that lead me to believe that.
Freaking
However,
legend.
He's a legend, dude. However, if I start to see, you know, the moves that Nintendo is being more greedy, I'm happy to call him out for that then. What do you think about the Switch 2 price? Do you think that's greedy?
I'm actually okay with it. $450. Like, it's more than I would have wanted to pay for it, but some of the hardware within the Switch is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's more justified. I feel like they're selling the Switch 2 with really low margins. I don't think that they're gaining that much of a profit. Maybe, 20-30% profit margin, I would assume.
Yeah.
Just like with GPUs, how expensive things are right now, all the other tech that they're bringing in, and it's like all going to be portable and all this stuff. So I'm kind of okay with the price. It's hard to say, though, really. I don't know how much this costs to produce and build and all that stuff.
Yeah, as someone who lives in Japan, I get access to an extra cheap Switch because I get the Japanese only version that I really hope like the console's going to be in Japanese from a system level. I just hope that I'll be able to buy games and then switch them to English. Like, I don't care if the system is in Japanese, but if the game can be made into English, that's all that matters to me. So we'll see what happens with that. So I get access to the super cheap one. But I mean, I feel like the Nintendo Switch 2 is just packed with technology. Like, that's the
It is.
feeling that I got when we were watching. It's like, it does 4K, it does 120 hertz, it has a mouse in the controllers, it's got these cool new magnet things, the screen is 1080p, you know, it's a brighter, it's, you know, it's not OLED, but it's a brighter, it's got HDR. It's just so, it's just as thin, there's a fan in the dock, like, it's just one thing after the other. I feel like this is a really meaty, packed Switch product. They've really gone all in, like I really hope they would. And so paying just like this amount, I would say, not just like a little bit extra, I just mean like this price point feels reasonable for what I expected. Honestly, I expected it to be $499 when I made my predictions before this stuff was even announced. And I was really surprised to see $450 and then, you know, $499 with the bundle that pretty much everyone's gonna get. So honestly, I think it's totally fine. I think it's totally cool. I think the market will support it. Everyone's gonna fucking buy this thing. What you don't want is you don't want them selling it at a loss, because Nintendo's always really been good about getting money off of console sales, and that's really helped them to roll that into the next thing they're doing. So yeah, I think it's a fair price. I think it's a really good setup of the technology itself, and more or less, I think the games look pretty good to support it as well. So
yeah, I also don't want them to sell it as a loss, because there's always been that like conversation surrounding Nintendo. I don't know why it always comes back every time they release a new console, but it's always like, bro, Nintendo should just be like a publisher. They should stop.
Right.
They should get out of the hardware console space and do all that stuff. Am I opposed to them selling games on PC? No, I'm not. But do I want them to get out of the console game? I also don't want that. Nintendo has been such a innovator in this space for so long.
Yeah.
Like people follow Nintendo for whatever reason, right? Like the Wii, it sparked a whole new era of different tech, right? With the not the Kindle, the Kinect. I forget what the PlayStation was, like those little wands.
The PlayStation Move.
PlayStation Move, that's right. So with the Wii, I guess not the Wii U so much, but more so the Switch, like we have the Steam Deck because of that, and then a lot of people started copying the Steam Deck, right? So like Nintendo has been an innovator. The Nintendo 64, dude, people forget how huge of a thing that was, right?
Bro, so that the Nintendo 64 was literally the freaking joystick itself. Like, they were the guys, right?
Yeah. So, and like, we take it for granted now, but the jump from 2D to 3D was huge back in the day. Like, just an intuitive control scheme that felt good to play, graphics that were easy to understand, all that stuff, like all the things that went into it. I've seen plenty of YouTube documentaries about that kind of stuff. And it really just shocks me, like, wow, that was huge. That was an awesome thing to do. So yeah, I don't want them to get out of the hardware space. I want them to get a profit from the Switch so that it incentivizes them to continue doing this, because Xbox, bro, they're out. It's only PlayStation.
Xbox is toast, bro. Yeah.
Crazy. And then like PlayStation, what has been any sort of innovation? Like, I guess their controller, some of the like Rumble stuff's pretty cool, but that's not freaking GameCube to Wii U level of innovation. Right. That's just like a step up from what they already had, right? Like, it's cool and it's really nice, but Nintendo really has been at the forefront of all of this.
Yeah. So. You know what? I would not be surprised if we get a controller from Sony or Microsoft someday that's like imagine using a new DualShock, and it's at the bottom of, like, you know, the DualShock, like, you're holding it in your hand, and the part that jets out from the bottom of your like hand, your palm, that's like coming out, you could even like rest that on a desk or something. Imagine if there was an optical sensor at the bottom of that, so when you're holding your controller, you could put it on your leg or on a desk or something and move it like a mouse while you're holding it. Right? Like, I could just easily see something like that being a thing, so you could literally play and have the mouse aiming at the same time while you're using a controller. Absolutely would not be a thing without Nintendo. Who else is putting a freaking mouse in their controller? That's absolutely freaking bizarre. What a genius freaking move. So yeah, I agree 100%. There's no one innovating in the hardware space like Nintendo. They are absolutely the leader when it comes to video game technology hardware, and I'm freaking here for it, man. It would be a shame
to lose them. Yeah, it would be a shame to lose Nintendo in that. So.
Yep, agreed.
All right, well, it's a mixed bag with all the prices, as it often is with Nintendo stuff, right? They're great in some things, terrible in others. but you gotta love them or hate them. Nintendo presses forward in their very unique Nintendo way.
Right.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little discussion. We got more coming down the pipeline, so hit that subscribe button if you want to hear our takes on all sorts of things video game related. But with that, we'll catch you guys next time.
See you, everybody.